Divorce is a journey, and to get there, sometimes you've got to drive. And today's episode is all about using a handbrake, using the accelerator pedal, using the reverse, and making sure you're holding the steering wheel, and also using a roadmap. Hello, Mum.
Hello, Laura. Sounds like you're going to drive a car somewhere.
It does. But today we were trying to think of a way to talk about all of these little bits of divorce that it's really hard to put into one discussion, but I think we've come up with a great analogy. One of the big things that people deal with in divorce that they struggle with is being gaslit or second guessing themselves or doubting themselves. And I really wanted to talk about this today to make sure that anyone who listens to our podcast and understands that this happens to everyone and it's quite but there's a way to put a stop to it using the handbrake. See the analogy?
I see what you did there. I can see you didn't like my reeling a fishing analogy.
No, this is not a fishing analogy, but yes.
Laura, that's why I've always thought of divorce as a journey. I know it's a journey now. I didn't used to know, but because we've seen people go through, we know that they will come out the other end, and you and I know through the course there've been hundreds of people go through, finish and move on. But when you're in it, when you're in that blur and everything's happening at once, you think that your case is never going to end, don't you? You think that when you get a hiccup, you think, well, that's it. Well, we're not going to sort things out. So I guess we're here to encourage you today that, you know, you will get to the end, but we'll go on with your analogy.
And we're going to give
my fish.
And we're going to give you 5 ways to help you get to the end. 5 things that you should have in your toolkit so that you can continue your journey and get to the end in the best shape possible. Stay with us till the end, and we are reading out one of our lucky YouTube viewers' comments to get a free call with Mum. So we'll be reading that out at the end of the episode, so stay with us till the end.
Hello, I'm Laura Furiosi, divorced mother of 3, and I'm here with my mother, Lynette Galvin, with 35 years experience in family law. You're listening to the Divorce Course podcast. Through our candid discussions, we hope to help you through your divorce or de facto separation. We will be answering the most commonly asked questions and covering the stages and steps that you will face on your way to freedom.
So let's talk about the handbrake. The handbrake is to help you if you start doubting yourself and you start spiraling, and maybe you're being gaslit by your ex saying that never happened, or even your lawyers might say that never happened,
or that it's not important.
Yep. So you need to have a handbrake. And in your divorce journey, the handbrake for everyone can be different. But really what you need to think about is a piece of evidence, a photo, a letter, something that reminds you, wait, this was crap. This happened. It did happen. And I'm going to stand firm.
That's right. And even if that evidence is just something you've remembered and written down when you were feeling more confident, you can go back and reread those things so that you know you're not crazy and that these things, you know, are important. And if you read it, often it's a text or sometimes a letter, or it's something or a list of things you've written out, and you need to look at it and try to look at it objectively against perhaps some, you know, ideas of what is or what isn't supposed to happen. And then that will just keep you grounded, I think, because you can get derailed.
Some exes, they want to minimize things. And if you have been through trauma, if you have experienced, you know, coercive control or domestic violence, please call 1-800-RESPECT or Lifeline if you feel triggered. But really, when it comes down to it, sometimes your body is designed to forget things so you can cope. And your brain shuts, like it goes, okay, in order to cope, I'm going to forget that.
Yes.
So if you then later on through your divorce journey, they say, no, that never happened. Or the lawyer said, do you think you may be making a too big a deal out of this? You need to remind yourself, am I making too big a deal out of this? Let me go back and check my handbrake. And if it is, just like you said, maybe go talk to your psychologist. Your psychologist could be your handbrake. Or a letter, a photo, a report, text messages. I had a friend recently who was helping somebody going through this, and they were there when something bad happened. They were texting me as that bad thing happened. And then later on, they were being questioned about it by police. And they started to second guess themselves. They weren't even the person that it was happening to. And they said, they messaged me and said, am I exaggerating? And I just screenshotted and sent the messages that they'd sent me. And then they went, oh, wait, no, that is legit.
You need to write it down. As soon as you recover, write it down. and then go back to that.
Yeah.
Because that's your sort of solid thing. Well, it may not be evidence that will be accepted in court, but it makes sure that's when you wonder if you're really thinking that, or did you maximize it or minimize whatever, then you'll be able to look back at the time.
Yeah.
Look at whatever you wrote down at the time or shortly thereafter will give you that grounding.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a thing though, Laura, isn't it?
Yeah. So whatever is going to help you, remind yourself of why you left, or remind yourself of why you're fighting, then have a look at that. And that gets us to the gas pedal accelerator. Yeah. And that's all about when you run out of steam, because we do get these people who write to us and they're like, I've been going through this for so long. I'm over it. I just want to give up and I just want to sign something and move on. And look, I think you pretty much be a superhero if you never had that feeling at some point during your divorce.
Right. I mean, I think it's probably healthy to be checking at every point. Is it still worth going on? Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, maybe you look at ways of bringing it to an end.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's just that you're exhausted. And the only way you can see to end it is to give in to the other person completely.
And sometimes that's even, and we'll talk about what to use as your accelerator in a minute, but sometimes that is a strategy on exes to run you down, to exhaust you, to make it just feel all too hard and to make you want to give in. And maybe you've got a relationship situation or a pattern where that's happened in the past.
Yes.
Where you maybe tried to leave a couple of times and they've just made it too hard for you. Or, you know, you just have run out of steam.
So some people, like they are giving now family violence leavers. So they should make separation leave as in general, because we are probably, like young people today, are probably so busy with children and work, right?
Yeah.
That they haven't carved out a space to deal with the case itself, you know, and they don't give themselves the grace.
Yeah.
And so you're just actually adding another drama on, in addition to trying to keep everything running with the kids and or work and probably family responsibilities as your mother or father stuck with your mum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just pile this on top of it. It's no wonder you feel overwhelmed.
So you need to know, and this is a strategy that I've used with my business clients in the past, knowing what your why is. So when you come up against something that's exhausting, you come up where you just want to go, I just want to give in. What is your reason to not give in? Why are you going through this? Why are you doing this? And everybody's why will be different. And I'm not talking about why, because that XYZ was a jerk or because I hated them. Your why is not about
dollar figure.
No,
it's not a dollar figure.
It's about your future. So if you have kids, it's more than likely your why is going to be, I'm doing this so my kids have a good future.
Yes.
Or your, what's another example of a why that you've noticed with some people, Mum?
Because I'm doing this because I deserve better than to live the way I've lived. You know?
Yeah.
I'm doing this for my freedom. I'm doing this to demonstrate for my children what a free and happy, healthy life is, rather than stay in a toxic relationship, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, there's all those whys.
Yeah.
It's generally, with most of us, we don't think of it internally so much. We do think about it in terms of the children, but you yourself deserve.
You need a why.
Yeah. You need a why.
And we never sit down and think about this kind of stuff. Why am I doing this? Why am I fighting? Why don't I just give in and say, okay, you can have 100% of the property?
Yeah.
You've got to have a why. And maybe sit down with a friend or a psychologist and write all these reasons down. Write everything you can think of and then have it written up on your, whiteboard, on your computer screen.
In your phone.
Anywhere, somewhere where you can just remind yourself. So when you are slowly running out of gas, remind yourself, okay, this is what I need. This is why I'm doing it. And this is why I have to do this XYZ yucky thing that I'm about to do.
And this is why not to end. This is why I can't be ending it now.
Yeah.
You know, so you need to have that. And I think that's just healthy. It's kind of an examined life, isn't it?
Yeah.
You make sure it aligns with your future and your plan.
Yeah, that's right. Now, the next one, number 3, is you need a reverse. Because, Mum, and you've talked about this before in other, mainly in our coercive control and DV episodes, and we have plenty of those. If you want to listen to those, I'll put them in the show note. But Mum, sometimes people take it too far and they need a reverse. Why do they take it too far? Can you talk through what you see with your clients?
Yeah. And I think probably have experienced it, I think, as well.
Mhm.
If you've been kind of just towing the line, reasonably submissive during the relationship, and you've normalized family violence, or you just didn't know it was, that was so clever, and you've escaped, usually in those first week or so, it doesn't usually click what you've escaped from. And then gradually it's like a Polaroid photo becomes clear, everything. And so you go, hang on a minute. You need to be careful that you, in your new freedom, in your exasperation and in your outrage at how you were treated, that you don't go too far the other way. And it's easy for you for everything they say and everything they do to feel like a continuation of the abuse. And so your gut instinct or immediate response is no. So sometimes there's a thing, I don't know what they call it, but I call it like the DV pendulum, where in the first few days or weeks, the person who's escaped family violence doesn't want to do anything to upset the person that they've escaped from. Then they come to where I call like the midline, where anyone who's leaving a non-coercive control or non-violent relationship starts off at. So you come from there, you come to there. But the phenomenon is that when a person's been through a lot, they go beyond the normal response and they become much more sensitive and very rejecting of proposals from the other side. So that needs to be hauled back in. And I think that's your reverse pedal.
Yeah.
You need a lawyer or a friend to point it out and say, look, I know you've been through a lot, but actually this is not a bad proposal.
I guess because you get empowered, you get angry. People write in and say, I can't believe I let this happen for 7 years, or I can't believe even if it's not DV or coercive control, it's just, you've just got just a horrible ex or someone who's just not done anything in a relationship and it's all been unfair. All of that kind of will come on you at some point because we get those emails all the time. And it really does, especially you can tell on social media, you get people, sending us these memes or quotes about living their best life and not taking any crap anymore. And this is the time for me. And which is great, which is amazing.
Which is wonderful.
And, all to you. And hopefully you will forever be like that forevermore and never end up with someone who doesn't let that happen. But like you said, Mum, that doesn't help in a negotiation where you're supposed to give and take, which is the last thing any of them want to do.
It feels like you're giving bits of your soul away when you do that. And you've probably said to yourself something like, never again, not one more word, not one more dollar. I'm over it. And then your lawyer is asking you to try to negotiate. The court's asking you to try to negotiate and it's killing you.
So you need to make sure that you're not taking it too far.
Yes.
You need a reverse handle. And that could be, like Mum said, a fierce friend. Maybe they're probably not the best people for a reverse.
No, not your fierce friend.
No. Maybe your psychologist, listen to your lawyer, really just have a think, am I taking it too far? Because on the one hand, you do need your handbrake because you might be spiraling and going, I shouldn't be doing this. It's all in my head. I've imagined it. So use your handbrake to remind yourself, no, it did happen. Here's an example of it happening. Yes. And I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen.
Good.
But when it comes to taking it too far and not negotiating, not budging, you need someone to check in on you and go,
I know.
Maybe taking it.
And, your fierce friend is not probably that person because your fierce friend's been through it with you. And they are not the ones really, as lovely as how they're not paying these bills. And you may have to say to them, I love you and I love you for how you stand by me, but I'm just going to talk to someone else. And if you do end up compromising and throwing things in reverse and having to compromise, you need friends that you can tell about it and they'll accept your choice.
Okay. All right. So remind yourself of that. So that's your handbrake. If you're starting to be gaslit, second guessing yourself, make sure you've got some evidence you can physically see and touch. Create some sort of, write like a piece of paper and write all the things down. Then you need your gas pedal accelerator to make sure that if you do run out of steam, if they've harassed you enough that you just want to give in, know what your why is, remind yourself, have that goal. Then you've got your reverse just in case you take it too far because you're so outraged and rightly so most of the time. And then the next one is the steering wheel, Mum. Now, this is a no-brainer. You need to make sure you're holding on to the steering wheel. When in a divorce have you noticed your clients letting someone else pull their steering wheel?
Yeah. There could be 4 sets of hands on that steering wheel. Okay. There's yours and it's your car, right?
Yeah.
There's your lawyers. Oh, but I'm only helping you,
Yeah.
like 2 of you tussling over the direction.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got your ex wanting to run where you're going and control everything. Yep.
Yeah.
And their lawyer who's doing the same thing. And so you get nowhere fast, right? Your direction is stymied by everyone else's on the wheel. Hopefully not your lawyer's hands on the wheel.
Yeah.
So you don't let anyone else in control of your case, you and your lawyer. The other side, they can write things and say things. And some of it is just to make you respond, but you're missing your case. You're not positively promoting your case while you're arguing with their stuff, so don't get caught. That's like a red herring. They'll get you really busy doing stuff and you forget where you're heading.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And so you called that, Mum, one of the ways is to make sure you're controlling the narrative.
Yes.
Because even if you're not in court, like right from the get-go, your ex might be trying to negotiate with you and they just don't want to negotiate who's going to stay in the house. They want to negotiate everything else. Yeah. And you're stuck separated under one roof still because they want to negotiate everything else but who leaves the house.
And that's their car. Yeah. But your role, you'd be wanting out and into freedom as soon as you possibly can. So there's usually one person who's comfortable and dragging out and one person who's got the incentive to move on. And so I think you'll feel better if you can keep control of your car.
Yeah.
And if they have issues that they keep throwing in your way, deal with them by all means, but don't forget to keep promoting where you're headed as well. So it's kind of like back their stuff off.
So it is a strategy, isn't it, Mum, for and particularly in the whole narcissistic world and the lawyer world, where they, someone might write a question, hey, I'm just after this disclosure thing, or I'm after this, and then the lawyer will send back, we want this, and this is urgent, and we must have it by 5:00 on Friday. And they don't even answer the question.
Like
they've jazz hands their way out of that.
And you know what? It sounds terrible, but it is still happening that you will get an email 10 to 5 on a Friday afternoon that can put your client in jeopardy if they don't answer. I'm not practicing now, but the letters that I would send back, because I got your letter at 10 to 5 and I'll take instructions on Monday or Tuesday. But they'll send it 10 to 5 on a Friday for this weekend. So some people, if they like controlling you, they will orchestrate their lawyer to bamboozle you and distract you and if there's a Mother's Day or something good coming up, they'll try and distract that. So you've got to keep your focus.
And if you are in court and there's affidavits and trials, Mum, how do they make sure that they keep their hands on the steering wheel when it comes to their own affidavit? If they've just got an affidavit that is full of baloney.
Okay. So you've been married to someone or living with them for a while. They write a letter and they put something in an affidavit and you are flawed that someone would think that of you. How could they know you? How could they say that about you? Yeah. Usually it's a deliberate thing because they know it'll get you. And your instinct, obviously, is to respond because you can usually prove it. Well, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. Not this, not this, not this. But if you just do that and send it back to the other side, you'll go, well, that told them, and you'll feel better at the record's straight, but you've forgotten to promote your own case. So you've got a project to go, to do, and you need to do it, as well as respond to any of the things they're turfing at your way or any wrenches on the wheel.
I guess if they constantly are saying, they did this, they did this, they did this, and you've just got to go, no, I didn't do this, no, I didn't do this, and here's the proof, no, I didn't do this. But that's all you put in it. You are letting them steer the car.
They control it.
As opposed to saying, I didn't do all of these things, but they did, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
So it's really about making sure. And that also comes to, I've noticed some people just let their lawyers just do whatever they want. Like they just go to their lawyer and say, what happens next? And the lawyer goes, well, we're going to do this next. And they go, okay. And the lawyer is steering the car. And I'm sorry. I love you, Mum. And I love the lawyers that I know, most of them, some of them. But you don't want to trust them exactly to drive your car because sometimes they just do what they think you want, right? Unless you tell them what it is that you want.
Yeah. So unless they're very good listeners and are able to extract the information from it, to be fair to the lawyers, though, you might be in a state, like in a shock. You're in shock.
Yeah.
And so you don't know. And I often had clients say, whatever you think, no, darling, you have to make this decision and we'll talk it through. Sometimes I think the lawyers just do it because it's just a cookie cutter and you're telling them terrible stories and they go, oh, that's section 79 4A. Or that's section 60C. And they're missing what it is that you're actually telling them because they're pigeonholing it. And of course they have to. They've got to take all this big loopy sort of evidence and words and mess and try to package it under the legislation for the judge to deal with. So a lot of it is about cutting out the things that aren't relevant to the court. And so it was things like who pinched the Tupperware, who threw the remote control in the canal, all of those things, which really burned at the whole hearts of the clients. But the judge doesn't care about that. So, yeah, it's hard.
But also,
ways of control.
We've had letters written into us that say, my lawyer has said that we should do property first and then children second. But I really want to sort out the children's matter first, or vice versa. Or they've said other things where they're like, my lawyer's saying this, but I'm not sure. I'd really like to do this. That's also an opportunity where they really need to just make sure they are steering a little bit, like obviously get a second opinion. And we've got an episode called The Pet Talk You Didn't Know You Need to Have, in case that is you and you are fully hands off the wheel.
Well, if you've got a different view to your lawyer, you're the expert in your life, right? They're the experts in law. But if you have a strong view and your lawyer has a strong view, ask your lawyer to put it in writing. To give you a letter, you'll pay for it, but it will make it clear why what they're suggesting is the right thing to do and what would happen if you went your way. Then it doesn't mean you have to follow their advice, but now you know the whole story. Now you've got experts' advice on the scenario and you're the expert in your life and you can make a proper decision. I think that some lawyers want to do children first. Some lawyers want to do property first. The court always dealt with children's matters first, because to emphasize how important they are to the court. So you'll usually ask for parenting orders first, then property second. That's a kind of a convention in the court. However, the thing with property orders, I suppose we're getting into the detail here, but
if you're separated or about to be and you need to get everything finalised and sorted but you don't know what to do next, or you're looking for a way to do your own divorce and settlement without spending thousands of dollars on lawyer, then you already know what you need to do, and that is to sign up and become a member of the Divorce Blueprint. Empower, educate and equip yourself with the legal know-how and the tools you need to get divorced or de facto separated and finally settle. Work through this course at your own pace without feeling confused, lost, scared or overwhelmed of all the family law legal jargon and processes. Let us walk with you through this journey and show you a better way.
However, the thing with property orders, I suppose we're getting into the detail here, but the thing is property sometimes depends on where the child is living and how much. So sometimes the lawyers want to put children first, property, or they think tactically property first.
So there's lots of reasons. So
ask for it in writing.
Yeah. So you just need to say, hey, this is what is really important to me right now. This is what I'd really like to be doing. Why aren't we doing it? Is there a legal reason? So don't just let it happen, because sometimes lawyers just do things the way they've always done things.
Yes.
But everybody's got a different life. Everyone's got a different situation.
And a different...
I knew of a lady who they were so wealthy. The property pool was so massive. The lawyers didn't even think about, does she actually need any money to live on until property settlement? And she was really, really struggling. And it wasn't until she advocated for herself, or she had a fierce friend, I think, advocated for her to say, hey, bozos,
this is my reality.
She's got no money. So if she hadn't have said anything, then it would have continued like that for a long time. So make sure whatever your situation is, you are pointing it out to the lawyers. And it is hard for lawyers because they do this day in, day out. They don't understand in a way. They're not feeling your emotions because they have to kind of remove themselves.
That's right. And also too, if they're doing a lot of this sort of work, it'll drag them down. But just remember the absolute role of a solicitor is to advise. The absolute job of the client is to instruct.
Right.
And so you instruct based on their advice, or they advise you about your instructions. So remember, you actually, with your lawyer, get their hand off the steering wheel. Get it up, or I'm going to get someone else, right? So you've got it, right? And you're batting the other side off with your elbow, and now you're firmly in control of your car and your case.
Oh, I just thought of another analogy.
Did you? Oh my
It's like
goodness.
when you go in a cab and the taxi driver is taking you to somewhere you go all the time, and they're taking these back roads and around the sides, and you finally get to the destination you wanted anyway, but it's cost you a bucket load compared to what it would have cost you if they'd gone your way. So keep that in the back of your mind, that your lawyer's not being a taxi driver trying to run up your seat. Not that I'm saying lawyers do that.
Or taxi drivers.
But I'm saying maybe sometimes they do. Now, Mum, the next thing that people need to have, apart from a handbrake, the accelerator pedal, the reverse function, and hands on the steering wheel and nobody else's, is a roadmap.
Yeah.
And the roadmap, you said it before we started, Mum. People are smart.
Yeah.
You can do this stuff.
Yeah.
And you need to instruct your lawyer, like you just said. And how do you know how to instruct your lawyer if you don't know about it?
Yeah.
So you need
You've got to have a rough idea. So if you're in that taxi, you can say, I think you'll find it quicker if you go right down Albert Street, whatever. So, but if you don't know, and the old story used to be during World War II when the American soldiers were here, the cabbies would take them for miles.
I'm not saying lawyers do that or cabbies do it now, but
it's a bit harder. It's a bit harder with Google Maps or whatever. But so you've got to be careful that people aren't taking you the wrong way. And the way to do that, I guess, is listening to these podcasts. You're educating yourself, you're empowering yourself, equipping yourself so that you can get through this financially and emotionally quick as you can.
In one piece. And I think that,
and the kids in one piece.
I think it's really like, because I'm not a lawyer and we've been doing this podcast for a couple of years now. And I wasn't an A+ student by any stretch of the imagination. But once I got my head around, okay, this is the process, this is what I'm supposed to do, things got a lot easier.
Yeah.
And until I got my head around it, I was just letting the lawyers drive me around the circuit.
Yeah.
Making all the big boo-boos and all the things I shouldn't have been doing. And I think it is highly important to know where you're going. It's highly important to know why you're going there. And so all of these little steps that you will take, up to mediation, doing disclosure, property settlement, children's things, all of that, if you have some sort of basic understanding, it's
these things are just little detours on the road or a little wobble, but you know that overall you're heading towards the end of this case.
Yeah. And if you walk in...
I still like my fish analogy.
And
they get reeling in a fish and they can do this, but they're still coming in.
But if you walk into your lawyers, or if you're doing it without your lawyers, and you say, okay, now we're going to do this, people are going to, one, have a little bit more respect for you, not try and pull the wool over your eyes, and understand, okay, this person knows what they want. You're not going to waste any time. Let's get into it.
And hopefully stop talking down to you.
Yeah.
Because, it's just, some people don't understand. Like I was a window dresser, a shop assistant in my youth. I'm the same person now that I was then.
But you are a lawyer.
Yes. Well, yes. And I've been around for a long time, so I'm a senior lawyer. But I'm still the same human. And so I just see all the people that we talk to as others, people like me. That if they know if they get shown what they need to know to help them on their path, they'll pick it up quickly. I mean, driving a car is hard.
Yeah.
This isn't quite so hard. But also with your lawyers, if you have a basic understanding and you can talk with them about it, it's going to save you so much money. Because if they then don't have to start saying to you things like, well, what happens with property is the court, and they don't do, you go, look, I'm aware of those steps.
Look,
here's my chronology. Here's what I think I'm entitled to. Talk to me about that.
I'm stuck on this one point. I don't understand this. Could you explain it?
Yeah.
Or here's our spreadsheet. I've created our property pool. This is the percentage I think I get. Can you please talk me through it? And we've got people who do our course, who listen to our podcast who do go in, and we got a testimonial just the other day that said, my lawyer nearly fell off their chair because I walked in with the file, with my spreadsheet, and they were so excited. So it helps you to get a handle on it.
Yeah, it's like kind of, I don't know, is it like organising? You know how if you're a bit anxious, a little bit of organising and decluttering, well, anyway, for me, makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I think even if you feel like it's all chaotic in your head, if you've got your folder or your, on your iPad and all your documents, like that's organised.
Yeah.
Ask me anything you can say. Ask me anything.
Yeah. And look, I get it. A lot of people, and this comes to the personality types, put their head in the sand. I get it. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to do anything. I just want the lawyer to do it because I'm really upset. I'm avoidant and I'm freaking out and I don't want anything to do with it. That's going to be so hard. And eventually you are going to have to do it anyway, because the lawyers will just send you a letter saying, we need copies of this, and this. So if you can just give them the copies without them having to ask for it, that's going to save you money. It's going to save you time. And once you actually peek under the bonnet and see how it all works.
Open that envelope.
And understand, this is how it works. It's less scary. And it's the fear of the unknown that really put me in a backseat of just, I don't want to do it. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what the next step is. But if you've got a sat nav, you can see it going. No, you're not. But you can see where you're going. Then at least you go, all right, if this step doesn't work, I know there's a step that goes next and I'll be okay.
You'll be okay. And also too, you can, if you know what's coming and what you're going through, it takes away the fear of the unknown. And also you can start preparing your documents in advance, because if you're not sure, if you haven't looked under the bonnet, every time they send you an email, your own lawyers, we need this document. And it's like, where is it? Whereas if you've already got it ready, and I'd say don't send the whole thing to your lawyers up front, because they have to read everything you send them.
Yeah.
Just have it organised and ready to go.
I remember. So I was, you're single parenting, you're doing all this stuff, and then you get an email from the lawyer in the midst of trying to run businesses and do all this sort of stuff.
Sell houses.
Laura, can I please have a copy of this and this and this and this and this? And I just looked at her and went, that's going to take me 3 hours. And I don't have 3 hours spare. So if I could go back in time and do this course that we have, I would already have it available. It would already be done. I would have done it in a time that I'd had available to me. I would have been able to prioritize it, put it in a time slot that worked for me, not when they call for it, get it urgently or you're in trouble by 5 o'clock Friday, blah, blah, blah.
That's kind of crisis management, isn't it? And there are consequences. So you don't know how the court's going to deal with it or why they're so. And it is. It's just awful. And look, I mean, I tried to help you, Laura.
I know you tried.
It was so hard because there was
nothing out there.
I couldn't do anything.
There was nothing out there and you couldn't help me. So, But so let's just recap. Yeah. I know it's a shorty mini episode and we are going to actually give a free call to one of our YouTube commenters because we promised that and we haven't done it yet. So that will be today. We'll do that in a minute, but let's just go over it again. So I want you to close your eyes as long as you're not driving and think about this for a minute. Have you got something to remind yourself of what's going on, to stop yourself from doubting, to stop yourself from being gaslit so that you can stop yourself from second guessing? What can you use? Have a think about that. Number 2, what's your why? Why are you doing it? And how can you get a little bit of extra oomph when you need it? Can you stick it up on the fridge? Can you stick it on the wall? What is it? What is your why? Why are you going through this process in the first place?
And it could be a forward why.
Yeah, definitely be a forward why.
Or to get away from something.
It's either or.
Somewhere.
And forward why is better because if you're thinking about reasons behind it, it is a negative impact on you. Yeah. The next one is reverse. How are you checking you haven't taken it too far? Are you listening to people? Are you asking people? Are you double checking? Are you figuring that out? Make sure you've got someone you can check in with and say, hey, am I taking this too far? Because I'm just completely angry and outraged. Yeah. Number 4, whose hands are on the steering wheel? Are they yours? Are they your lawyers? Are they your ex's? Or are they everybody's and his lawyer as well?
We should say who else has their hands on your steering wheel?
Sonny Jim next door who has all these opinions. Like the parents at the school maybe that leave the school gate going, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. And I better just do this. Otherwise they'll all hate me. So have a think, who's steering your divorce car?
Yeah.
And then lastly, have you got a roadmap and are you following it? Because if you just follow the wind and just do whatever, whenever someone sends you a message or whenever someone tells you, that's not going to get you there very fast.
Feel overwhelming. And when times are hard, I think if you could look forward and know that you will come out the other end, then it's less frightening,
Because divorces can really be, and property settlements can be strung out forever, really. Like if there's no plan, there's no goal, if you're not following the roadmap, you could end up just going round and round in circles giving disclosure for 2 years.
Well, and some people do that without even going to court.
Yes.
And I've talked to people who, we can't go to court because we haven't been to mediation. We can't go to mediation because we haven't done disclosure. Well, the court, that's not the intention, on my understanding of the intention of the legislation. At some point, you need to be, if you're taking control, get on that gas pedal. You're saying you've got until this time on this date, find a reasonable time and deadline, after which then I'm going to take the initiative, because the whole legislation and the central practice directions now are aimed at people being able to move the process along, and punishments really for people who won't. So the court hopes, once you start in court, it's like you're on a tractor beam and you're being dragged through the system. Before you file in court, whilst the court will, if you go to court, look back over your behaviours during that time and the other person's, but there's no time frames being given to you. I see people get stuck in that disclosure, mediation, can't go to court. Once you go to court, the court sets the deadlines and they will make it happen.
Yeah.
But yes, I can tell the people who are exhausted because they've spent years and so much money.
Disclosure dilemmas. And you can go listen to that. I'll put that in the show notes. But also remind yourself, that you don't have to go to court. I know we talked about court, but you could do this whole process without court, just filing your agreement in court to get it sealed.
Absolutely.
So the whole point of our course is to get you through to the other side with the agreements locked in place, parenting plan or parenting consent orders, property consent orders, all sorted, mediation done, signed and in the court without you having to go. That's the plan. That's
how to draft your own parenting plan and all of that. And we're very much aimed at the before court process. And I like to think we were ahead of our time, Laura.
We were ahead of our time.
Because the court has now got that emphasis on those pre-action procedures since late 2021.
Yeah.
And they've got tightened up even more since the 6th of May. So it's going to be less of that dragging out, because it used to be whoever had the most money could just hold out the longest till the other person had none left.
That's terrible. So your homework for tonight, if you are watching or listening to this, is go and figure out what your handbrake is. Go figure out what your accelerator is going to be. Go and find someone to help you be your reverse.
Yes.
And go and figure out whose hands are on the steering wheel and get yourself a roadmap. And if you are interested, we have our webinars this week. We've got ones for the rest of the week. You can go up until, I think, Saturday morning. So if you're interested, go and register for the webinar. I'll put that in the show notes, or you can just go to thedivorcecourse.com.au, or you can do our DIY divorce blueprint. And of course, you don't have to do it yourself. You can do it with a lawyer. This is your roadmap.
Heaps of people have lawyers.
People have. Yeah. So, Mum, let's quickly do comment of the month. And that lucky person gets to have a free call with Mum.
And those comments keep us going.
They do. Yeah. They do. We love reading all of them. If we don't get to reply to you, it's because we get a lot on all of the platforms, but you can comment to us on YouTube and Spotify and Apple. And I'm trying to think of where else. Facebook, Instagram, you name it. But we choose from Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. And today is YouTube. And it is from Align Mind Coaching. And she said, love your work, Laura and Lynn. I'm still learning how to navigate the transitions. And I honestly underestimated how delicate they are. Yes, they are.
That was about kids.
That was a Hand Over Hell episode. If you're interested in that episode, go and listen to that. But I know today's one was a little bit wishy-washy, but I like to just bring everybody's focus back to just the overseeing the process.
Yes.
Because sometimes you really can just get lost in, my lawyer said this and he said that or she said that. And it's just this big roundabout of crap.
it's a lot of it is trying to just survive the process and being churned or every which way. Whereas I like the idea of having your own direction and your own roadmap.
Yeah.
And that keeps you know why you're doing stuff and you don't feel that you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Mum, for coming along. Thanks for doing this one with us. Sorry, guys, it wasn't a legal one, but sometimes I think people just need to be shook on the shoulders and a little reminder that they've got to just
or
have
a hug.
And just figure out where are you going? What's happening? Who's in charge here? Because the person should be in charge is you. And hopefully you will have a really good outcome if you've got your hand on the wheel.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mum.
Thanks, Sorb.
If you found this podcast helpful, we'd love it if you could rate, review and subscribe. By doing so, you are spreading the word to help someone else just like you. Lynn would like to remind you that this podcast is general advice only and you should always get legal advice in relation to your particular situation. And remember that the Australian laws may have changed since recording.